Hello, we're with Harmick today, the incredible Tom Jones impersonator or tribute artist. Harmick, tell me where your career started.
It started at a dinner theater called the Inlet, I believe, in Freeport, Long Island, 1978.
And you were how old?
17. I don't believe I turned 18 yet.
How did you actually get into the business?
Well, I was always going to be a singer-songwriter. And so I would show up at talent nights at various pubs in New York and with a keyboard player, because back then nobody used tracks. And one night in the winter, I showed up to do 2 numbers. Nobody was at this particular pub because there was a snowstorm. And there was no other contestants, and the prize was 2 tickets to Atlantic City. And bottom line, before the snow got worse, I asked the guy, I said, listen, no one's showing up. Can I just get the tickets to Atlantic City and then before we have trouble getting out of here? Bottom line, the cook came out. He sang Danny Boy. He won. I lost. But there was one guy at the bar, the only patron, and he said, listen, you're wasting your time on an original career. He goes, you look like Tom Jones, you sound like Tom Jones, you're a lot younger, and if you could put together a bunch of his songs, I can get you work. And that's how Tom started in 1978, I believe.
And so you worked the East Coast then for years? Or
At the time, not too much work, but for probably 2 years until it pretty much ended. And then we picked it up again somewhere around 91, 92.
what did you do in the interim?
I became a stock trader, an equities trader
In what city?
in Las Vegas, of all places.
Oh, really?
My wife and I, we moved out here in 1982. We had one business at the Sahara Hotel, a ladies' store, a handbag store. And at the same time, I had a small partnership at a brokerage house. And that was it until she said, you need to get happy and be a performer again. And apparently the business had evolved beyond Elvis and the Beatles. And other impersonators or tribute artists were able to make some sort of a living at it. And so we picked up where it was the easiest, being Tom Jones.
And your introduction to Las Vegas was where? What property?
I don't remember the very first hotel I played in, but my very first hotel would have been a corporate job, as far as like a real job. And it may have been for Procter & Gamble, but it was a big job. I was lucky. I never was in the trenches, like a 4-hour a night thing. And then I did a lot of weddings in the original days, the chapel type of weddings. And then little by little, got better, developed the craft, fit the mold, and I did concerts, throughout the country and in various other countries.
And the turning point was?
Probably somewhere in the early 2000s when Tom Jones's people asked me to be the subject of a video called the Tom Jones International. They said they had done a worldwide search and they thought I was the perfect clone. And would I consider doing the video with him, which that was like one of the happiest days of my life. It seemed like after that, this whole new credibility opened up, and like this red carpet. And, I thought things were fine before that, but that was just a different realm altogether, where I was dressed like Tom, on stage with Tom, singing a song with him. That was amazing.
What is your best example of being mistaken for Tom, or most embarrassing example of being mistaken for Tom?
The most embarrassing would have been probably countless women who probably throughout the years thought that I couldn't remember some intimate moments with them. That would have been embarrassing, but But generally, it's when they're telling me a story of how they saw me someplace, 30 years before, and no one's doing the math. In their mind, this is still what they hold in their memory. Yeah, so probably the intimate moments, I have no recollection because I wasn't there.
That's right. So, has it been, what percentage would be Vegas shows and corporate shows?
It used to be a fair portion, more than 50% were corporate here up till about 4 or 5 years ago. Now it's mostly road work. There's so many more casinos outside of Las Vegas. So we're on the road a lot more than corporate these days, where it used to be the other way around.
You met Tom, I'm guessing.
Oh, many times.
And has he been welcoming? Or?
Oh, very welcoming. Very, very welcoming. He's been very complimentary, very welcoming. I mean, he's a regular guy. You sit, you have a beer with him. I don't drink, but he's been more than gracious. I couldn't have asked for more. I couldn't have asked for more from the person I impersonate.
Who else in the entertainment world has been very welcoming to you and maybe influenced your life?
Influences, so many. Engelbert. I went to an Engelbert concert about 3 years ago, and they delayed the show by about 15 minutes because there was like this whole mob scene. I had these front row seats, and the people thought that Tom had come to see Engelbert. So then all the security came and cleared everybody out, and then they stood in line for autographs. But it's been a blessing. Really, it's God-given.
Well, what does a show involve now when you go on the road?
It involves generally 75 to 90 minutes, but it's more than just singing Tom Jones music. You have to be entertaining. People that come to see me come to see the quintessential Tom from the 70s up to probably, the late 80s, where everybody's involved and they're having a good time. It's beyond just standing in front of a mic. You have to entertain. That's the hardest part of all. You have to, for 75 to 90 minutes, you have to keep people engaged, laughing, crying, singing, all of the emotions that will encompass a show. So it's far more than just being a look-alike or sound-alike.
Yeah.
You have to entertain the same way. Literally, Tom, at what he calls his cabaret days, where he was all of it. Phenomenal singer, still is, funny, sexy, all of those.
You mentioned that you've had some famous people actually open for you or work with you.
Yes, I've done corporates with a number of famous people, but as far as being on the same stage for an extended period, Joe Frazier, the boxer, most people don't know this, but he was on Capitol Records at the height of his boxing career. And I had done a corporate job with him somewhere around 2010, and I wanted to do a limited engagement at the old Hilton. And I wanted to guest somebody famous. So when I saw Joe a year before, he did this Mustang Sally that was amazing. I said he would be perfect. So we called him up, and he agreed to do 10 nights as my guest to sing a few songs. And he came every night. He looked like $1 million. He dressed up. He danced. He sang. Sadly, he was on his last few months of life, and nobody knew it. He was such a pro. And he passed away 4 or 5 months later. And he would have been probably the biggest, I would say, that I've worked with on a regular basis.
Do you go back to your class reunions?
Good question. I am so yearning to go back to Christ the King High School in Middle Village, New York, one day. So no, I have not gone back to any of them, and every time I say, okay, I'm going to go next time. But now they're not a year apart. They're 5 years apart. They're a decade apart. So
I would think that would be one of the crowning moments of your life, is to go back and have people remember you as, 16-year-old friend
yeah.
and pal of yours, the first beers or whatever.
I'm glad you brought that up. For the high school play, the Christmas play in 1977, I actually did 2 shows, and I sang a number in each show for the Christmas play. I sang Can't Help Falling in Love. Not as Tom Jones, but so all these people thought that I was going to have some sort of a music career after that. Yeah, I haven't gone to any of them, but I would love that.
You should. You really should.
Norm, I would love that.
It's just great to reconnect with friends. Not to say, look what I became, but they're nothing like old friends.
I completely. There's an old saying: "In all things, good is new, except in friends." Right? And I get occasionally an email from someone from high school that'll say, I wonder if you remember me. I'm the person with the blonde hair, or I had these glasses or something. And I always write back, of course I remember you. Sure. And we're coming into town. Do you have a show going on? They don't realize that you don't always have like an ongoing show, and people's perception of how show business is in Las Vegas is so much different than the reality, which you obviously are aware of.
Tell me something that people might not know about the real Tom Jones.
The real Tom Jones was bedridden as a child for, I believe, a couple of years. I think he had tuberculosis. Same with Engelbert, if I'm not mistaken. To think the constitution of that man has got to be amazing to rise above that. Other than that, I got to tell you, I think Tom is one of the most accessible, legendary names on earth today, and has been probably for decades. And I think the perception is such almost impossible to speak to or get to. But when he used to play Vegas, you would see him at the lounge all the time at the MGM.
Yeah. Oh, really? Oh, I didn't realize that.
Yeah.
I went backstage once. I went to his show. My wife and I were invited, and a friend of ours invited the 3 violinists, the 3 girls from Poland that are so beautiful.
Yes,
blonde.
I have worked with them on a corporate job, yes.
So we were invited backstage. We go back. Tom needs 10 minutes or so to get cleaned up. And he walks out, and the first thing, he scans the room, and the first thing he sees are the 3 girls, and he goes, well, there goes the weekend. It's still the Tom Jones. I should appreciate that.
I do. Oh, by the way, I've got a great story. The very first time I met Tom Jones, it was with a gentleman named Ray Walker of the Jordanaires. That was the legendary backup group for Elvis. And he introduced Ray from the audience, and I'd known Ray for about 5 years at the time, so we're talking maybe like 97 now, something like that maybe. Yes. Anyway, so I'm now going backstage to meet Tom, okay, and I don't know what to say. So the first thing I said to him was, so what do you think? Do you think Elvis is really dead? And he looked at me, yes, out of space, and he goes, he's got to be dead. He goes, nobody would leave this life. Then we talked about other celebrities we had known, and he thought, here's something you would like to perhaps tell your viewers, he thought that Roy Orbison was the greatest singer he had known. And I remember him saying, every time you thought that Roy was done with that note and it wouldn't go higher, and then he went higher. So I think that was one of my other questions. Other than yourself, who do you think is one of the best singers, if not the best, in the pop generation? And he said, without a doubt, Willie Anderson, which I met as well many years ago.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, that's the great thing about the entertainment world. You meet some incredible people
You meet-
with
you hear-
incredible stories of overcoming things. And
Yes.
your case, you just showed the grit to become. Your wife gave you the
She
kind of
did.
the push or the shove or the kick. I'm not sure what it was.
All of the above, and if she didn't, I would have missed out on life. I don't think that my life would have been anywhere near complete if I did not become an entertainer. And being Tom Jones was the way that I could have provided a living for my family, as well as being on stage. And what a rich character of, it's so colorful, the songs are beautiful, variety of songs. It's all of the above. It's funny, it's sexy, it's all of it. So, and I did it late in life. I was in my early 30s at the time. So
Amazing.
again, a gift. Some may call it a consolation prize, but I got to do what I wanted to. So I just pray that I could still do it 15 or 20 years from now.
That's, it's like people that are sort of mocked because of being one-hit wonders. They had one more hit than anybody else did.
I agree.
Than a lot of people did.
Yes.
Well, thank you very much, Harmick.
Norm,
It's been fabulous.
It's been my
It's great.
pleasure and honor, sir. Thank you.
We'll talk again, and we're at the Coin Mart, and come on down. You'll never know who you'll find down here.